Good morning, everyone. Here's your special report for today. I was on a little vacation last week and did not look at the internet much. In the process of trying to locate an old family video, though, I hopped on YouTube and immediately saw my face on the thumbnail of one of my least favorite pro-Mormon podcasts, A Thoughtful Faith. I have arrived, y'all. Let's watch the video they made about me and discuss it. Please tell me you are excited about this as I am. First, let's take a quick look at the thumbnail I saw. It has a picture of Jacob Hansen and Jonah Barnes, and then my fabulous face in the middle, and it says, ex-Mormon racism in all caps. I think they are trying to call me a racist. I am white, so I certainly do racist things. I'm not going to refute that. I try to learn and do better every day by listening to people of color and believing their experiences. Some of my favorite books about the experiences of people of color are Cast by Isabel Wilkerson, Unbound by Tarana Burke, and I'm Still Here by Austin Brown. I do wonder if Jacob and Jonah have ever read any of those books or similar ones. If not, I would highly suggest they do. They are amazing books. Let's get into it. Jacob starts by promoting a new apologetics page on his website. I'm not going to play that part. I guess if you want to delve into the ways that he attempts to quell his cognitive dissonance, you can check out his website.
So recently, my friend Jonah Barnes and a group of Latter-day Saints began an online missionary initiative called Gathering Israel. It's a genius program where members pay for online ads all over the world, and it's been wildly successful, with dozens and dozens of baptisms being reported each week.
If you want to hear my breakdown of that program, check out my update that aired on June 2nd of this year. The link will be in the show notes.
However, apparently this wealthy, white, hippie ex-Mormon lady...
Did he say wealthy? Did he really just say that? Has he seen my financial situation? I don't want to go all cliche opening to a sacrament meeting talk here, but the definition of wealthy is having a great deal of money, resources, or assets, rich. And I can attest that that does not describe my situation. I got married at 20 years old and had 6 kids in 10 years. On our marriage day, my partner and I had $500 in the bank and tens of thousands of dollars in debt. Neither of us had finished our bachelor's degrees, and we had our first child 11 months after we got married, while we lived with my partner's parents. Thanks, Mormon leaders, for the bad advice to get married young and have kids right away. We were finally both graduated from college when our third child was 4 months old. We spent the next 15 years building our experience and portfolios while dancing around the poverty level on state insurance and food stamps while we both worked full-time. We just barely, in the past 2 years, have gotten to a place where we don't have to worry about every single purchase we make. We no longer have to sacrifice groceries so we can buy clothes, and we can occasionally treat ourselves to a vacation or a dinner out. So, am I wealthy? I definitely feel wealthy, because for the first time in my entire life, yes, I grew up with 13 siblings, and my family was very poor. I am not losing sleep over whether or not I can afford to take my kids to the dentist or pay for school supplies. But I do not think that is what he was trying to get at. And seriously, why did he feel the need to point that out? If I was wealthy, would it make the information I share less valuable? Because if so, the leaders of the church have nothing of value to say. Calling me a hippie? I don't mind that one so much. Hippies tend to be thought of as dressing unconventionally and advocating for nonviolence. Bring it on.
After her neo-Marxist indoctrination...
Pause. Him using the term neo-Marxist is not surprising. That phrase has become a catch-all used by followers of any number of right-wing figureheads to criticize things they don't like. Neo-Marxism is most closely associated with the conservative straw man rather than the actual traditions in leftist circles.
Now believes that sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ around the world is a form of colonization and subjugation.
First off, he says the gospel of Jesus Christ, as if Mormons have all the truth. And while I know that Mormons believe that to be true, it's quite elitist and snobby. This belief inherently positions all other faiths, spiritual paths, and belief systems as incorrect, incomplete, or less valid, and fosters a judgmental stance towards those outside the faith, creating an us versus them mentality, while the in-group is seen as uniquely favored or enlightened, and others as misguided or in spiritual darkness. As for the colonization and subjugation part, he's right. I do think that is what his friends at Gathering Israel are doing.
Huge success. Now, just to be clear, that success is not because of us. That success is because the Holy Spirit and the missionaries working hard and the commitments those individuals are making.
If the Holy Ghost is so powerful, why do they need to be using the internet at all to further the subjugation of these people? Next, he's going to describe what I would classify as colonizing, and he's going to do it in a way that feels pretty gross to me.
I ran a campaign in Guinea-Bissau in the west coast of Africa. It does not have a church presence at all. Using my own money, we're talking like $60. Okay, this is not a lot of money.
Tell us again how cheap it is to colonize. How your privilege allows you to send ads to other countries and tell people how they should live their lives. And that, my friends, is the only clip they play from my entire video.
I'll let Jonah take it from here.
Is he laughing about colonizing? I know he isn't, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was.
Okay. All right. Is this lady serious? Does she realize that these wonderful people are voluntarily choosing to embrace the restored gospel of Jesus Christ?
Pause. Stop. No. Just no. These people are not voluntarily joining the church. Ethically and legally, true volunteering implies an act done freely and with sufficient understanding, having full informed consent. Here are some of the key things commonly not fully disclosed to converts before they join the Mormon Church. Polygamy. While the church officially ended the practice of plural marriage in 1890 and excommunicates those who practice it today, missionaries typically do not delve into the extensive history of polygamy, Joseph Smith's involvement, including marrying already married women and teenagers, or the reasons for its cessation. Furthermore, the doctrine of eternal polygamy, where a man can be sealed to multiple women in the temple for the eternities, while a woman can only be sealed to one man, is generally not discussed. Temple ordinances and garments. Missionaries talk about the importance of temples and eternal families, temple sealing, but the specific nature of the temple endowment ceremony is kept entirely secret from non-members and new converts until they attend the temple for the first time. Church finances and wealth. Missionaries teach the law of tithing, donating 10% of one's income. However, they do not disclose the vast financial wealth of the church, its multi-billion-dollar investment portfolios like Ensign Peak Advisors, or the controversies surrounding its financial transparency, such as the SEC fine for non-disclosure. Controversial or nuanced historical aspects. Missionary lessons focus on the first vision, the coming forth of the Book of Mormon, and the restoration of the church. However, they typically omit information about multiple differing accounts of Joseph Smith's first vision, the Book of Abraham's origins, and the current scholarly consensus that the papyri do not match Joseph Smith's translation, the priesthood and temple ban for black members until 1978, and its historical justifications, the use of a seer stone for translation both for the Book of Mormon and treasure seeking, which is often seen as conflicting with earlier narratives. The full extent of time and lifestyle commitments. While missionaries explain Sunday services, the full scope of active church membership often involves extensive time commitments for callings, volunteer positions, weekday activities, youth programs, personal scripture study, and family home evening. The deep integration of the church into daily life can be underestimated by new converts. This is a very small sample of things that potential converts will not be told by missionaries. So again, these people are not voluntarily joining the church because they cannot volunteer without being able to give full informed consent.
How is it exploitation to go offer someone Christianity and have them voluntarily accept it?
I'll tell you again, I guess. You have to offer them all of the information or they cannot voluntarily accept anything. If consent is not fully informed and voluntary, they are not volunteering. They are being exploited.
Does she think that Christianity is only for white people?
I think that anyone who has been given all of the facts and wants to become Christian should do it. After I left Mormonism, I attended a different church for a while, and they did not allow anyone to get baptized until that person had attended their church for a full year. Why doesn't the Mormon church do that?
Okay, but probably not, let's be honest. This is someone who not only despises Christianity, she can't even get the basic facts straight.
And now he will try to talk about facts I didn't get straight. He will try.
For instance, our organization, Gathering Israel, is not even officially affiliated with the church.
And I literally never said it was. I did, however, point out that per their own admission, they have an inside man who works at church headquarters and feeds them numbers.
Nor does it receive a single penny from it.
I also never said it did. What I did say was that if the church wanted to support this website, the church certainly has plenty of money to do that.
The Gathering Israel initiative is a group of private individuals who love the restored gospel so much that they give of their own money and their own time to advertise the church everywhere.
And that was highlighted in my video. I showed them talking about converts inside the US and outside the US.
Not just in developing nations. They even have a baptism coming up in the Bronx. Unless you count the Bronx as a developing nation. Which is fair. Also, what does developing even mean? Economically developing? Culturally developing?
While I used that term exactly 0 times in my video, I'm glad he got hung up on it because I didn't know that term is being phased out. When possible, simply referring to countries by their names or grouping them by region, countries in sub-Saharan Africa, nations in Southeast Asia, is the most precise and respectful approach. I will change my language accordingly. I have a ton of respect and curiosity about people who live differently than I do.
Because there's plenty of families in Uganda that could probably teach the West a thing or two about strong families. And since when should we be getting our advice about families from Christianity-hating hippies anyways?
I don't hate Christianity. I've definitely never said that. I do have disdain for abusive systems, especially those who use Jesus Christ to harm people. And I think there are people of all religions, even non-Christian ones, that can give solid advice about families. Do we need a reminder of what Jonah said in his original video about the people he's hoping to convert?
Billion people in India. There's a billion in China. There's people in backwoods Africa and little islands in the Pacific who all they have is a little phone with Facebook, and we can reach out to them. And we don't have to spend $10,000 to send 2 missionaries from Farmington, Utah to knock on their little grass hut, hopefully when they're home from their fishing that day, and connect with them. No, we can do it for pennies. And then those missionaries who show up on that island and have 5,000 grass huts can just have people come to them.
I think Jonah might be the one who needs to watch what language he uses about people who are different than he is.
Apparently, this enlightened Western sage does not realize that Kazakhstan, Ukraine, Armenia, Hungary, and Vietnam all have higher mathematics and science achievement scores than many states in the United States do.
I'm not sure why he's saying this. I genuinely have no idea.
So let's all simmer down a little bit about who's developing and who's not.
Again, although I never used that term in the video that they are failing to rebut, I didn't know it was such a harmful term. And now that I know better, I will make sure I don't use it in the future.
And do y'all really want ladies like this out there looking down their nose at nations with less money? That's not a very good look, antis.
I do not know what he means when he says ladies like this. I am getting the idea that he is trying to dehumanize me. He won't even say the name of my channel. If he makes me out to be a non-human entity, it will be easier for him to discount me and my worth.
Also, it shouldn't be news to anyone that Christians want to preach their gospel all over the world.
Just because they want to preach their gospel does not mean they are doing it ethically.
Anyone who thinks Christianity is just for white people should probably get on the Google machine and learn that Jesus was not exactly European.
Ooh, this is rich. I was at the LDS Conference Center recently and did not see even one painting of Jesus that portrayed him as a person of color. When I asked the sister missionaries about it, they said that the paintings were all donated, so they didn't have control over the portrayal of Jesus.
And the LDS Church is not the only church trying to spread Christ's message of redemption around the whole world.
True, but any church that is not offering potential converts full informed consent is exploiting people.
But it's probably not the church that you want to critique on this.
But it is, because they do not give their converts all the information they need to make an informed decision.
the LDS Church and Gathering Israel are using marketers from South Africa and Uganda and Zimbabwe to advertise to people in Kenya and connect them to missionaries from Liberia so that they can attend a local ward led by local Latter-day Saints in their local languages.
Run by men in Salt Lake City, Utah, who ultimately make all of the final decisions and talk to God for these people.
Our sermons aren't held in Latin or Greek or English. We don't want to lead the church in Senegal. We want the Senegalese to lead the church in Senegal.
By following the handbook that was written by men in Salt Lake City, Utah.
The notion that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is just an American church is outdated.
Good thing I never said that the Mormon church is an American church.
Do you know how many members of the Church of Jesus Christ actually live in the United States?
Even better question, do you? Because the church does not ever release accurate numbers publicly. I know how many the church claims, but that is not the same thing.
It's less than 40%. Utah doesn't have the most dense LDS population anymore. That's actually Tonga and American Samoa that have more.
That's because LDS missionaries brought a distinct American-originated religious doctrine, moral code, and cultural practices to Tonga and Samoa. This included not only theological beliefs, but also social norms, family structures, and a specific form of worship and community organization. The LDS Church invested heavily in establishing schools as a key part of their missionary strategy. These schools provided education, which was often highly valued, but also served as powerful centers for indoctrination and acculturation into Latter-day Saint beliefs and values. Students were taught in an environment where church principles were integrated into the curriculum and daily life. The church teaches that Polynesian peoples are descendants of ancient Israelites, specifically through a Book of Mormon figure named Hagoth, who sailed to the Pacific. While many Polynesian members embrace this narrative and find spiritual meaning in it, critics argue that it essentially provides a new, non-indigenous origin story that can displace or supersede traditional Polynesian genealogies and creation myths. This imposition of an Israelite identity can be seen as a form of ideological colonization. The adoption of LDS standards often meant changes in traditional practices related to dress, diet, social gatherings, and other cultural expressions that might be deemed worldly or contrary to church teachings. While communities often adapted and integrated the church, there was an undeniable shift in cultural norms driven by the new religious framework. The leadership structure of the church is highly centralized in Salt Lake City, Utah, USA. Historically, mission presidents and other leaders in the Pacific were overwhelmingly non-local, leading to periods where local leaders, despite their experience, were treated paternalistically or given less authority until later shifts towards localization. This mirrored aspects of colonial administration. The church's significant financial investments in infrastructure in these countries, chapels, schools, temples, and its emphasis on tithing contribute to a strong economic presence, further intertwining the Mormon Church with the economic and social fabric of these nations. This influence creates dependencies and aligns local economies with church structures. This is not a flex, Jonah.
Oh, well, what about church leadership? Aren't they all privileged Salt Lake City elites?
Also, something I never said, but let's see what he thinks.
Well, actually, no. Out of the quorum of the 12 apostles, Patrick Kieran is British, Ulysses Suarez is Brazilian, Gare W. Gong is a Chinese-American fluent in Mandarin, Dale G. Renlund's first language was Swedish, Dieter F. Uchtdorf is second in seniority, and he's the most German dude you've ever heard in your life. That's 5 out of the 12 apostles. Even the presiding bishop, one of the most powerful positions in the church, who oversees all the church's finances and buildings, properties, commercial corporations, and more, even the presiding bishop, Gérald Causé, is French. Does this sound like an Americans-only club?
I never said it was, But back to the original problem. Are these men making sure that converts are given all of the pertinent facts before they join the church? When these men speak over the pulpit in general conference, do they openly and truthfully talk about the troubling aspects of church history? Do they admit that the scholarly consensus is that the Book of Abraham papyri do not match Joseph Smith's translation? Do they detail what actually happens in the temple? Do they provide receipts so potential converts can know exactly where their tithing is going to go?
In the Tony Award-winning musical The Book of Mormon, Latter-day Saint missionaries are always the punchline. The writers Trey Parker and Matt Stone thought it was just so hilarious, this idea that native, naive Idaho farm boys were bumbling around Uganda. Could Mr. Parker please point to Uganda on a map? Could Mr. Stone? We'll wait. Do either of these artistic geniuses even know what the official language of Uganda is? Surprisingly, it's actually English. The nation's leadership wanted to integrate with the world at large more easily, so they switched to English. Well, they must not be listening to the accusations of colonialism coming from grouchy hippies.
Well, wasn't that a giant tangent?
Do any of these critics know that despite the fact that Uganda adopted English as its official language, missionaries from the Church of Jesus Christ still become fluent in Lugandan? Do they realize the immense good that has been done by missionaries for people in Uganda, including the church offering world-class educational opportunities through BYU's Pathway program?
Two seemingly contradictory things can be true at the same time. The church can offer education while simultaneously allowing people to join the church without full informed consent.
Keep in mind, the church-sponsored university, Brigham Young University, is ranked number 1 in the nation for the number of foreign languages offered, with 96 languages offered, compared to number 2 ranked Harvard, which offers just 78.
That's super cool, Jonah. I genuinely think it's awesome that so many Mormons know so many languages. What I don't care for is them using those language skills to convince people to join the church before first offering all of the facts about the church necessary for potential converts to join with, you guessed it, full informed consent.
And you want to know why that is? Because unlike other groups who have not spent much time around the world, millions of Latter-day Saints have gone to places that no tourist would ever go to live among the forgotten people of this world.
This just isn't true. There are many other religious groups who spend time doing missionary work all around the world.
So it's just a little bit ironic. It's just a little rich when these American anti-Mormon TikTok influencers chide us and are upset when our program, Gathering Israel, leads to an African missionary baptizing an African man into an African congregation led by Africans.
An African missionary not disclosing all of the pertinent information for an African man to have full informed consent to join a local African congregation led by Africans who ultimately are governed by men in Salt Lake City, Utah.
So, to critics of the LDS Church, maybe not everyone around the world has the same personal issues and insecurities that you do.
Okay. We all have our own issues and insecurities. Not going to deny that. I have both of those things.
Maybe not everyone has been brainwashed into neo-Marxist post-colonialism.
Oh boy.
When Gathering Israel finds someone, you know what family they join? They join God's family.
Because, once again, Mormons are the only ones with real access to God's family.
He knows Swahili and Lugandan and Portuguese and Chinese just as well as any other language.
If God exists in the way you believe they do.
If you want to know more about Gathering Israel, you can head to gatheringisrael.org and be part of the movement. Thanks so much for watching.
And that's it. Let's finish with this great quote. If you would have said no to doing something had you known a person's intentions were malicious, manipulative, or deceptive, your informed consent was eroded. Informed consent is the ability for you to understand the risks and benefits of any choice you are making. Information that is withheld, omitted, or misrepresented, which could affect someone's choice and manipulates them into choosing a specific path over another, overrides informed consent. This includes false promises of exclusivity or opportunities, lies, deception, gaslighting, future faking, love bombing, coercive control, retaliation, threats, abuse of authority, and preying on unequal power dynamics. Whether it's a serial cheater who pretends they are in a monogamous relationship with you while exposing you to health risks, a coworker who coerces or manipulates you into doing work under false premises and opportunities, a romantic partner who future fakes having marriage to get you to sleep with them, or a friend who doesn't disclose the fact that they never intend on repaying a loan when they ask for it, your consent is not full consent unless it is fully informed, under transparency and disclosure on both sides, enthusiastic and ongoing. And that's your special report for today, folks. I absolutely hope you have the day that you deserve.